Greetings. This is video number 2 of information that I think all of you should know. And I think this video, I'm going to discuss regattas. And I think most of this information is probably helpful for freshmen, novices, but there will be some information for varsity. So turn it on, put it in the corner of your dorm room and just listen to it like a podcast. So regattas, there are 2 seasons to rowing, very similar to, let's say, track and field. In track and field, you have cross country, and in the spring, you have spring track, right? And the emphasis of cross country is distance. And when you start having spring track, you start having sprint events, field events, okay? So it's considered track and field. With rowing, there's a fall season, and then there's a spring season. And in the fall season, the regattas, which is another word for a race or a meet, but a regatta usually refers to boats, mostly sailboats, but rowing regattas. In the fall, you have head races. And I think there's a historical significance to the head race. I think it may actually be Native Americans, and where the tribes would compete by rowing to the head of the river and then racing down. I'm going to look into that, but I think that's right. But we have head races, and head races are longer races, just like cross country. The distance for a head race used to be at 3 miles, but now they tend to use meters, and the races can be anywhere between 4 to 5,000 meters. So right around 3 miles, okay? In the spring, you're going to have sprint races, and sprint races are 2,000 meters, 1.25 miles. When you're talking about spring season and sprint racing, or 2Ks, sometimes you'll hear dual races, and that's when 2 teams will organize their own regatta. There's a tri-meet where you'll have 3 crews participating, but anything more than 3, it's referred to as a regatta. We are only going to participate in regattas in the spring. There's going to be a lot of crews present at these regattas. It'll give us an opportunity to race against a lot of different crews throughout the spring. Now, when you're rowing, there are categories. There is a Frosh Novice category, and the Frosh Novice category are basically people with no rowing experience or people with experience in high school that this is their first season in competitive collegiate rowing. So let's say if you rowed in high school for 4 years and you joined the team your senior year, you're still considered a Frosh Novice. So after Frosh Novice, there is JV. And not all races have JV crews or JV event, but it is an event. And then there's varsity. So there's Frosh Novice, JV, and varsity. Now, can you be a freshman novice rower and row in a varsity event? Yes, you can. Okay, so you can go from event to event if you want to. The only rule is you can't row Frosh Novice if you have rowed 1 full year collegiately and raced. If you haven't raced, you're still eligible. In rowing, there's also heavyweight and lightweight divisions. For women, it's 130 max, and for men, it is 160 max. Lightweight rowing is not what it used to be 10 or 15 years ago. It's kind of fading out. There are a few strong lightweight programs left in the Ivy League, but it's not what it used to be. You used to go to the Dad Vales, and there used to be 24 lightweight women's fours, for example, and now there are none. So lightweight rowing has kind of shifted into varsity and JV rowing. So fall, spring racing, head races, sprint races, okay? Frosh Novice, those of you who've just joined the team, you're a freshman novice. There are a couple of people who row very, very well with experience. You're still going to compete in the Frosh Novice event. If you are good and it's a good fit, some of you will be moved up into the varsity or JV in the spring, but we'll talk about that next semester. The regatta schedule for Lafayette. In the fall, we have 3 races. We have 3 races. There's a Navy Day, there is a Head of the Schuylkill, and then there is the Frostbite Regatta. For freshman rowers, As of right now, I'll be taking 1-4 from the Frosh Novice group, from the men's team, and 1-4 from the women's team, and you will participate at the Schuylkill Regatta if I think you're ready. If you're not ready, you won't. Okay? That means that some of you will not be racing at that regatta. We're hoping that we can bring all of you to that regatta so that you can watch. If the weather's nice, which is always iffy, but if the weather's nice, it'd be something fun to do that day. The last race of the season is the Frostbite Regatta. Now, what is interesting about the Frostbite Regatta, it is a 2,000 meter race. It's a sprint race. Our goal is to have everyone who has paid dues, everyone who's been coming to practice and can row, okay? We're gonna do our best to get you to race. But if you're not ready to race, you will not race, okay? It's very dangerous and it's not fair to your teammates just to give you a chance to sit in a boat and go down the river when you're catching over the head crabs and the boat can't row. So it's not fun, okay? So if you are eligible to race, like I said, you paid your dues, you've been coming to practice. I talk with my assistant coaches on a daily basis, and I see what athletes are ready. If you are ready, we'll do everything we can to get you in a boat and get you down the race course. Now, at the Frostbite Regatta is our first peak performance. It's our only peak performance of the fall, where we're really going to focus on selecting first freshman fours, right? So that you could really have a chance to train together, to feel focused at a regatta, and go to regatta and see how you stand up against the competition, okay? So we're hoping to get a couple of you to race at the head of Schuylkill, to go have fun. The last race this season, we're gonna have a lot of emphasis on performance at the Frostbite Regatta. So we will really select our first and second fours and hopefully have novice eights as well. And this goes for the varsity. The varsity, we're not focusing on peaking at any of these early fall regattas. We're just going to race and to have fun. However, when we go to the Frostbite Regatta, I really want to end the season on a concerted effort to say that this is the top four as of right now, which of course will change through spring break and winter training. But I just want us to see where we stand and where we are. And whether or not we row the 8 or not depends on the competition and depends on the race schedule, but I'd like to row a top 8 as well, okay? Now, so for the varsity, again, I'll try and get as many crews rowing as I possibly can for the fall. I think you guys have done great, and I want you all to have a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm picking first and second fours, moving coxswains around to give everyone experience and to give the rowers experience so that they can evaluate all the coxswains on the team. So that's basically the regattas. That's where we're going. We talk about the categories, the Frosh Novice, where things stand in terms of your entries. One thing that we'll talk about in greater detail at another regatta is peaking. Like what regattas are important to us in the spring. And to sum it up, I would say there's one regatta, okay? Everything that we're doing is for success at the Dad Vales. Everything, okay? So we'll have a lot more talk about that when we start talking about training and what we're getting ready for. But the Dad Vales in the spring, it's got to plant that seed in your head, the Frosh Novice. That is our championship regatta. So to talk more about the regattas, let's talk about selection, okay? So when I pick the entries, all right, when any crew goes to a race, freshman, JV, varsity, I pick all the lineups and I select all the boats, all the coxswains. I determine what boat you're going to row in, what oars you're going to use, okay? So if you want to be mad at me. The selection is going to be based on 4 things. Commitment, okay? Are you coming to practice? Technique, can you actually row? Fitness, are you in shape? Okay, and there's a balance there, It's like, are you really, really fit, but you can't row? Or you have someone who can't row but is extremely fit, So where do you put emphasis on the development of an athlete? But as far as selection goes, commitment, technique, and fitness. I look at all those 3 things, okay? And I sit down with my assistant coaches and we review more than you would think. we review every day, all of you, who's improving, who is not, who's coming to practice, who is not, right? Fitness levels. And we have a ranking system. I have a ranking system right now. First, second, third, fourth, fifth of everyone on the team, varsity and freshman. And I use that to make selection for boats. But the most important criterion for selection is, do you move a boat? Do you move a boat? So we put combinations together and we watch. I'm doing that in the doubles with the varsity, right? If you move a boat, you'll move a boat. If you can move a double, you can move a four, okay? So before the Frosh Novice, the fall regatta, the Frostbite regatta, we will try different combinations in the novice fours, moving people in and out, and I'll have my assistant coaches watch, and they will determine who's moving boats, and they'll let me know, okay? So you can be really fit, row really well, but if you're not gonna row with your teammates, you're not gonna make the boat. Or if you don't come to practice, you're not gonna make the boat, okay? Now, as far as selection goes, you need to know that boatings are made 48 hours before the regatta. So I know it's a lot of pressure. You know, you may be training for a couple of weeks and not know whether or not you're gonna be in the first four or second four, or maybe whether or not you're even gonna race. But we do the best we can, and I understand that that is difficult, but it's athletics, and I know you all understand that. Logistics, okay? How do we get there? Well, what we do is the day before we leave, we have our last practice. So let's say the race is Saturday. We will have practice Friday afternoon. Sometimes I'll have a morning practice as well, but let's say Friday afternoon. Very quick time on the water, if any. Okay, that's why some crews come in the morning. Very quick row, maybe one lap, if any. But what you've got to do is you have to de-rig the boats. Got to take all the riggers off, right? Got to make sure everything is secured in the boat. I bring the trailer to the boathouse. We have a cop that shows up to help stop traffic. And everyone will load the boats on the trailers and strap them down. Now, this is very difficult to do. Initially, I don't want to have a bunch of Frosh novice out in the road strapping down boats, okay? You will learn to strap down boats at the regatta when we load to go home, okay? So no one is going to be getting loading instructions at your first regatta. Your job is to de-rig, help bring the boats out, help put the boats up, do what you're told, and get out of the way, okay? You go to the regatta, we take the boats off, we rig them, you race, we de-rig, we put them back on the trailer. Duncan is on the varsity squad, and he is equipment manager, and he will help teach all of you how to properly load the trailer, how to strap boats down, because there's only one right way to strap a boat down. That's it, one way, okay? And you're gonna have to learn all of that. We travel either in buses, vans, or rented cars, or individual cars. This year we had difficulty acquiring buses. So some of the regattas we're going to have to pull together and drive in cars, and we'll have assigned cars. Those who are driving your personal cars, you'll be reimbursed, of course. Some races we have a school bus, good times. And that's about it. So when we travel, it's either a tour bus, school bus, rented vehicles, or personal cars. When we go to spring break, we actually rent cars for spring break. And we'll talk about spring break in another video. So that's it. That's some information about regattas. And there's a lot of information there, okay? So if you're a freshman novice rower, you might be asking, well, why am I not racing at this regatta this weekend? Well, the answer is very simple. You don't know how to row, okay? And the regattas that we're going to, they're no clubs. They're all varsity teams. They're freshman novice rowers have been rowing for years and years in high school. Okay, so there is that event is very different than it used to be. Okay, so you are not ready to row. You will not be going. Also, if I were to get you ready to race this weekend, you would be able to row by fours, dragging blades. It would take me a year to break you of all those bad habits. So I'm being very patient in teaching you how to row so that you learn to row correctly. okay? Our goal is, of course, to get everyone racing as much as we can, and for the Frosh Novice, certainly at the Frosh Novice Regatta. All right, the next video that I put out, I think is going to be training. Exactly why are we doing what we're doing, okay? I guess to break it down, it would be what makes a boat go fast, right? What makes a boat go fast? Why does one boat go fast off the starting line? Why does one boat stay strong in the third 500? Why does one boat have a strong sprint the last 20 strokes? It's very specific preparation, okay? Periodization training, that's what we're doing. Periodization training. Right now, low key, relaxed, miles, technical work, okay? You're all gonna go home over Christmas break, you're gonna train, you're gonna come back, you're gonna train very hard, okay? So basically from this point, it's kind of flat right now. It's gonna pick up a little bit before the Frostbite Regatta. But when you go home, it's gonna be solid. But when you come back, it's gonna be tougher and tougher and tougher. More time, harder work, okay? From the point that you get back until our major regattas, which is of course the Dad Bales. So we'll talk a lot about training and what we're doing and why in the next video. All right, guys, peace out.